Here we are, and welcome to a Destiny is All episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. Moments ago, in my living room, Becky, Lily, Shy, and official Last Kingdom correspondent, Mark Toner, joined us in person to watch.
This is a historic moment.
Flew in from France.
The finale.
And I flew in from the Canary Islands.
Yep.
I mean,
The finale
the fact that we were all together is pretty special.
Actually, is pretty cool.
of the Last Kingdom. The Last Kingdom, Seven Kings Must Die. The 2-hour coda. I think it's more of a coda than a finale.
what's a coda?
A coda is like
in a symphony.
it's like the extra musical part at the end.
Epilogue, if you will.
Epilogue, if you will, of the Last Kingdom, the journey of Uhtred, son of Uhtred, from Saxon, kidnapped by the Danes, raised into the greatest warrior. Never, it's a historical story. No one knows if he existed or not.
He didn't want to be recorded in their books.
He says it over and over
He
again.
makes it very clear.
It's great. It's
like
such a
Moses
great.
in the
I take-
Haggadah.
I
Moses
Don't
is
want to
not
be
in the
recorded
Haggadah.
in your history.
I take this.
Not sure that's
not Haggadah.
okay. Becky, Becky wants to start.
mean?
Overall,
This is
just
Haggadah.
reaction. How do you feel?
I'm very emotional. It's bringing up a lot of feelings from finishing the last season, and it's like all the feelings I had over the course of watching that season jam-packed into 2 hours. I mean, when we watched this, we were cheering, we were screaming at the TV.
I had to stand up.
Tears were
I couldn't
pouring
sit down.
It was a full body experience that was most thoroughly enjoyed in a group setting. I don't think I could have gone through
Much
this.
better experience than that Game of Thrones ending.
Ugh, yeah.
Watch Game of Thrones.
You saved yourself
Yeah,
about
don't bother.
Okay,
thousands of hours.
Lily.
The ending is not good.
Okay.
Game of Thrones. Of Game of Thrones. I'm saying
What'd you
What
think of
did you
tonight?
think of tonight?
I think our final hero shot is probably gonna be like one of my favorite just like shots.
I think that
Oh, the final shot.
I think the last
Not like the
season.
final, but the last
I think the last season is perfect. Like I've never seen a more perfect last season of a show besides maybe Breaking Bad or something like that. Like it should be in the pantheon of last seasons of shows. It's very risky to then give us a 2-hour movie and not ruin something
Right.
that was perfect.
Yeah.
And there was touch and go there. For a moment, I was yelling at Mark.
Lily's like, Mark.
This
Personally,
is terrible, and I'm upset at you.
brought this on us.
But it really, really was good to its fans. Like, I feel like it really had its fans as a priority at the end.
Yeah.
And, it was dedicated to the fans who want to see the story end beautifully. It doesn't have to be all perfect, happy ending.
It's not a
but
happy-
it just is a beautifully done in homage to these wonderful characters.
And I would just say the story ultimately has always been the missing piece was, well, does he help unify England? Because that was, right, the story is as much about Uhtred as it is this shadow history of England and Alfred's dream. And I think that's that's what this last 2 hours is really about, taking you up through Ethelstan, who is written as the king who unified England, even though apparently the Vikings come in and conquer afterwards, a few years later. But he's the first official uniter of England. Mark.
And the Normans, yeah. But you're right. It's true to the Saxon Chronicles, which is the books that it's based off of. And you're right. I mean, it's very true to that. It's really well done.
So you've now seen it twice. How did you feel?
I actually am glad. It's worth watching again. It is, because a lot kind of washed over me the first time. And like you guys, I was at the end, I was so
stressed.
What's happening? Yeah. No, totally. I was that way. Now today, I was like the wise old man. I'm like, wait.
Just wait.
explain all the
You know
different
what? I
stands
appreciate
were to
having
me.
a guide through it because
Yeah.
I was very nervous.
Different Ethels. I needed an Ethel encyclopedia, an Ethel wiki, which Mark provided.
But there were some hard parts. The sealing of the people, including Finn's.
Finnins.
So all right. So let's get into
Yeah.
spoilers.
Okay,
The
sorry.
deaths. Okay.
yeah,
So there.
sorry.
So there are a few deaths, confirmed deaths, because
Yeah.
there are not a lot of confirmed deaths. So there's Aldhelm, the long loyal servant of Ethelflaed, and then Uhtred. He gets caught saving Uhtred's life.
Yep.
Through some intrigue.
Yet
gets
again.
hung. And then you have.
So cold.
And then you have basically all of the town of Bebbanburg, including Finn's wife.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's not all of them, but a lot of people
I
who
think
don't
it's all the
escape. The
women.
people who don't escape. Well, it's the people who don't escape get buried in like a live tomb, which is pretty horrible. Was there another? I feel like those were the real emotional deaths that we saw on screen.
Father Peerleg
He didn't die.
He didn't die.
died.
He just
Okay.
gets hurt.
That was a crazy comeback for him. He
Yeah.
Crawls
Crawls
out of the
away.
Crawls out of
bodies,
the-
and
out
he
of the-
sees him, and he kind of nods, and then so you really
The
only had.
kids are
I think.
Oh no!
Oh,
then we
Ethel.
have it, and then
Ethel Weed.
Ethel
Weird.
Witch.
Oh, Ethel Weird. Oh, the brother at the beginning. That Ethel.
Which is like
He
not
was done wrong, man.
and
he was
that's
hard
not-
done by, to quote the.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not that it was so emotional seeing him die. It was very emotional seeing Ethelstan do something so evil.
Yeah.
Ethelstan, I think you see the story multiple times. So Alfred had a design the whole time. Edward back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Ethelflaed was good. And then Ethelstan, who Uhtred raised, you can see like once he gets up into that king tower, these guys were just led in all sorts of different directions.
Which is why
and ambition
Uhtred
and
never
paranoia.
wants to be king.
Yeah.
He's
Right.
like, I'm not
Edward
interested.
had a little bit of that same back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He
I mean-
he turned evil for a little bit there.
Yeah, Alfred was more
Alfred was
deliberate.
visionary, knew he was dying.
Miss Alfred.
Yeah.
I mean, but he also did some murderous stuff. I mean,
That's
I
what he does.
love that they never make the kings in this. Like the kings of England, like it's not like they were such good people.
No.
They are never good.
They put the cards on the table that these kings do terrible things.
Well, it's great because you all the whole time are stuck between who you root for. Many seasons you root
You're
for
always rooting for
Danes.
Uhtred.
Right,
You're rooting for
exactly.
Uhtred. That's
Exactly.
it.
You're not ever really wholeheartedly rooting for the Saxons or the Danes.
So very interesting. No real like this is Uhtred back to primal Uhtred, where he's got no wife, he's got really no love interest, although there's that weird, not weird.
It's like the thing with
Like
him and
some-
Edward's
Edward's
ex-wife.
ex-wife's wife. You mean the
There's
queen?
there's
He loves a
some
good
vibes.
queen.
Right.
Yeah, there's some
But-
vibes there.
But a little vibes, but nothing really solid there.
Because I think he's supposed to be old.
I mean, he looks great, but he's
mean,
got to be in his 60s at this point.
They hint at the end of the last season that there could be something between him and Edith, right?
Yeah, but she goes off to be a healer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I was kind of expecting them to bring her back.
I was never super attached to his love interest because he never seemed super attached to that.
Except
What are you
Ethelflaed.
talking about? Ethelflaed,
Ethelflaed
and
was
when his
Gisela?
Gisela, oh my, when she dies,
Yeah, but I mean, they like
pretty distraught.
but he also like
he comes
moves
back
on.
from the slave ship for her. He survives the slave ship for her. Don't
Yeah,
forget that.
but he moves on
I do
quite
like they
a bit.
bring back his like bad ex-girlfriends though when they met. Like,
Just
good, he
get it
drowned
through
that bitch.
So
That
from
was funny. They bring a lot of like the sword. They tie in a lot of like fan favorite things to love and hate in the show.
so
Sword of Uhtred.
so one thing about this that I know
Sean, you need to make us t-shirts. Uhtred, sword of Uhtred.
Uhtred Sword of Uhtred was
best
like
line.
there were two great memes in this. One of them was Uhtred Sword of Uhtred, and the other one was when he reclaims his sword from that guy, and he said, "I'm
By
taking this."
exchange,
I mean, I'm
I
taking
would take it from you, and you would take this one. Yeah, and then the kind of shrug or the eye raise he gives to Finnan when he's like, "Do you think it's a work, Uhtred?" And he just kind of looks at him and goes, "I don't know."
So, Mark, we saw some great characters in this. We saw Uhtred, Finnan, Sihtric, which I as much as I was worried about Uhtred's death, I was actually more worried about Finnan and Sihtric's deaths because I'm actually more attached to them surviving at this point because Uhtred has to die on the battlefield. These are his loyal guys. I kind of want them to grow old.
Yeah.
And they have had some horrible things happen to them anyway.
Yeah.
But who are you missing from this story?
You know I'm missing.
Yeah, who are you
Hild.
missing? Hild, right?
Hild was so loyal, and we were talking about the
But like a
slave-
75-year-old nun would not be fighting in this war.
You know, I think there's a few.
No, I agree,
I
but-
think Edith, Hild, and
Yeah.
I think Ethelwitch, the Eliza Butterworth, the great original
Yeah.
queen.
It must be dead at this point.
Well, it's that, and then also just the logistics around the actual filming of this. I think the other actors had moved on to other things. They just couldn't get them back,
Yes.
and they just didn't put them in the
And
story.
story-wise, it was fine because she would be.
She would be old, and Hild also would be older, and she's a nun. So
Which speaks to, I think, the real beauty of the show is that you've got these beloved characters that you can kind of revisit,
Yeah.
and that, like We were talking about some of the and his brother Ragnar too. Like,
Right.
There's so many.
And it's not
so
one
many
or two.
moments to
It's
this.
like 20 characters.
No, there's
we
so
all
many
love.
moments to this show that you can be like, oh, what about that or that time? And that's that speaks to just the how great a show it was. I mean, how they captured so many wonderful characters.
I also appreciated that they streamlined this story. It's 2 hours.
Fair point.
We're going to wrap up the story of unifying England.
Yep.
Right? Mm-hmm. And also that means that I don't have to have Hild's memory ruined. She doesn't have to die for no reason.
Fair point.
She doesn't have to, right? Like, she can just, like, in my mind, there's a whole story of, like, Hild the warrior nun out protecting people and teach, like, and, there could be, like,
And she has a great send-off in the last season where she has that great sort of last, spy getting the daughter back.
And if she died peacefully of old age in a nunnery somewhere, so be it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, I mean,
he earned it, right.
Hey, like, we talked a little bit during the movie now about Haston, who died at the hands of the Scottish king. Like, that to me was like, they brought him back basically to off him, right? Right?
Yeah.
I'm glad nobody was like back in the story just to be killed. Everyone who died in this, like, we could only, there were like 3 major deaths, and they all were very connected to moving the story towards the end. And they didn't brutally kill all the characters you loved in that last scene.
No,
they did not.
Could have.
They did not pull. I don't know if you remember Young Guns 2, but like one of the biggest letdowns of Young Guns 2 is that all the characters you like get gunned down. The only one who survives is Alan Ruck, and he's new to that. Oh no, I guess Christian Slater sort of survives. Anyways, the point is that I'm glad they did not off all of the main characters and do like a total Reservoir Dogs ending.
Send off. Yeah, I was so worried that was going to happen.
But it was unclear to me, like, I mean, Uhtred he didn't like he just kind of got sideswiped by a couple of dudes, which is totally predictable. Like, I'm like, how do they not in those battles?
And he's the oldest man in England at this point. So one assumes he's tired.
There wasn't a single villain befitting of him.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There was no bad that could have matched him. So in my mind, a one-on-one fight to the death on the battlefield, none of those guys could take him. Yeah. He basically was
old and tired.
And he gets, and again, we're not sure if he's dead at the end. Yeah. He kind of has this moment of maybe I'll go to Valhalla, maybe I won't.
I think he's ready.
But then he's going out on his own. But then
he's lingering a little bit.
But then he's going out on his own terms. England's been unified. But that's the thing. Like, even then, Uhtred had to be stabbed by how many different spears?
Right. I like that it wasn't one guy that took him down. That it's just the battle.
There wasn't a guy who could do it. Like, it wasn't going to be
foreshadow it. The fact
Aflan or Afghan or what was the name of that guy?
What was the one eye too? Almost got him for the slave ship.
Yeah.
But also they do foreshadow it nicely when he does get jumped by a bunch of kids.
That's a really good point.
He doesn't get hurt, but he loses his sword, and he's just sort of, it's.
He gets outsmarted,
diminished.
He gets outsmarted also on by Ethelstan on the ramparts at the beginning when Ethelstan kills his brother. Like, he isn't as sharp. He's not as strong. They show him at the beginning. He's kind of been old, hanging out in Bemberg for 15 years.
And the Queen says, you guys have been mostly hunting and partying, right?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
So they're a little off their game.
So it's more like a one last ride kind of thing.
Yeah, lion in winter kind of.
Yeah,
and upstanding to his oath. Like, he doesn't ever let go of his oath.
Old man Logan kind of thing.
He really didn't,
So,
that was,
all right, so aside from Uhtred, who is your MVP in this movie, Lily?
Probably gonna go always to Finan.
Okay, all right.
Who, like, leaves his own family behind because he thought he was summoned and would never.
But that's another time of them being outsmarted in this one. Although Finan and Sihtric are like not that bright.
No,
that's the kind of thing they would.
It's a miracle their families have survived this long.
Yeah.
But I love that character so much. He's the best lines. He's the best line.
Yeah.
He doesn't have as big of an individual story in this one that he did in the last season of the show.
Because it's only 2 hours.
But he narrates.
Which is also to throw you off a little bit. Like, Finan's. Usually it's Uhtred.
Yeah.
Because he goes, destiny is all. He doesn't say it until the end.
That's so, you know what? That's so true. It's not him.
What a fake out. Oh, that's interesting. All right, Beck, who's your MVP?
I feel like I need another minute because
Okay.
we're fresh off of it. Maybe Mark wants to answer because he's seen
Mine's
it.
going to be, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but his, you know, who died, you know, was
Aldhan.
What?
Aldham? Aldhelm.
Just because he was like, he loved Ethel
Fled.
and like, yet he ceded that to Uhtred. He ceded her to Uhtred because he just was always like, he started out as a little bit of a bad guy with the king of Wessex.
Mercia.
Yes.
Mercia.
You're right.
Mercia.
Yeah.
No, he
Who was a
was.
real slime ball.
He was a real slime
It was a
ball.
real slime ball, but then he clearly like chose the light, and he saw
yes.
that Uhtred was a good guy. He changed his
And
allegiance, and then he
ultimately-
was totally solid.
And ultimately, he was always loyal to Ethel
Absolutely.
Fled. And when he saw what the king was doing to her, he was like, I can't get behind
And he had
So true.
And he, like Uhtred, like ultimately came around to this bigger vision of he had a bigger vision of the world, and
smart, super smart.
yeah, that's a great choice.
And he really does. You know, he noticed that he stepped into his death. Like he didn't like let them force him.
And he didn't beg. He didn't try to
Beg, no.
explain. He gave him a chance to understand.
Exactly.
And in the end, Ethelthyn kind of lives with that
noble death.
mistake.
Yeah.
Lives with that mistake.
a lot of mistakes to live with.
Yeah.
I
well,
agree with both of these so much that I'm going to instead do an honorable mention.
Okay, that's
And
great.
I'm going to give an honorable mention to Uhtred's son.
Oh, yeah.
Name
Osbert.
Osbert?
Because
A take on Osfirth, maybe.
Oh yeah,
Named after
maybe.
him.
I don't know.
No, it couldn't be.
All the names are so similar. Osbird.
And and it's because he follows in his father's footsteps. When he tells his kid, "You got to take what?
Don't bang on the table.
You got to take the other king, Edmund. Is that Edmund? You got to take him. You got to protect him." And he does it. And he's on the battlefield. And he's like
He leads the charge.
he is like Uhtred Jr. and he is doing what his dad I'm like.
and Uhtred's
finally,
other
one
kids
kid-
all-
I'm sorry,
all
literally,
Yeah, they
finally,
all
you
kind of
got
petered out a
one-
little bit.
You got one that you trained and is listening to you, and, and I believe that he will carry on your legacy. So
And isn't he like found at the end of the last season? When is he found? When they're like, they've found his son or something.
I need to rewatch.
yeah,
I mean, that-
yeah. I think Hild is the one that
had
has
taken
found him
away.
and taken him away.
So it's like
yeah.
a solid 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's
for the
her
win.
that knows where.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
been
Right. He's been hidden. Right.
Yeah.
I would say,
It's great that they brought that.
I mean, I think you picked all the best choices for the MVP. I want to then just honorable mention Ethelstan, not because I like him, he's a weasel, but it's like the movie in 2 hours takes you for a lot of emotional whiplash because you know on a certain level this is about the uniting of England. You know if you've read the history since the last season because everyone read it, you know he's going to end up unifying it. But the actor, whose name escapes me right now, but the actor has to like take you through these like terrible decisions, but also these moments where like you have to believe Uhtred believes in this kid and wants to save this kid. Like he's running to save him at the end, and he's running because he was believing he can teach him one more good lesson.
Yep.
And in the end, Ethelstan is more likable than Edward. He might be dumber than Edward, but he's not as spiteful and arrogant as Edward. He was led astray. But he left room for Uhtred, and I think while he's no Alfred, I mean, like Alfred was so incredible as a character, as an actor, and you had so much time with him. I think this 2 hours does not work without Ethelstan mattering, and I think big ups to who's the actor? I thought you were
I was just like entrapped in what you were saying.
Oh, okay. Anyways, I think that like. Without that performance and without that character, I'm not sure who Uhtred's fighting for and what's he fighting for because all the people he's loved are basically dead.
It's a fair point.
Other than his family in Bebbanburg. So what's going to bring him out of Bebbanburg?
Yeah.
The oath, the kid that he raised, And also, I think...
Harry Gilby.
Okay, we're all parents, like... And I'm going to tie this back to Succession, which we've been watching, which Becky hasn't watched. You watch Succession?
I've seen
You got to
the
watch this
first
show.
4
You'll love this.
Mark, you'll love
episodes.
Succession.
How
No,
long
but
is
Mark,
it?
you got to watch this.
How long has the show been out?
You'll love Succession.
4 years.
So I'm averaging 1 episode a year.
Okay. But one of the
Very
things that
nice.
Succession
Great show.
does
Great
so
writing.
well is kids rebelling against their parents, right? But the kids are not perfect either. And the parents are also kind of jerks. And I think this like rebelliousness that Ethelstan has of, no, I know what's best, and like makes cataclysmic mistakes, and Uhtred's willingness to forgive him and believe in him, like there's a parental thing there, right? Like
Uhtred, to be clear, like on several occasions in this movie, he goes, I would just go to Ethelstan and explain to him. And it's like, no, he's being led astray. But like, there's a couple where he just kind of, Uhtred, against his better judgment, defaults to, I can just explain, and he eventually does. But it takes like 3 or 4 times where and bad stuff ensues because of that. Yeah. So that's interesting.
I think there's a parent-child, like a reality there of like parents will, I mean, again, this is on very high stakes with villages being burned, but I think that relationship is really important. Okay, who was your least valuable player? This could be you didn't like the performance, you didn't like the character, or a villain that was like the worst. Like you can interpret it however you want. Ingleberger, is that?
Ingleberry. I think it's Ingleberry.
Ingleblurg.
I mean, he is really evil.
Right, because he emotionally manipulates. He's really set in there to be a insidious.
Because it's like on a religious front, on a romantic
Right, he's
front.
a sleeper agent, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, that surprised me.
Yeah, we haven't seen, what's amazing is that the different bad guys we've seen in the show, we've not seen anyone do something that sneaky.
What about Patch, the Ethel, the guy we were talking
Ethelred?
about? Ethel, who got the sword because he killed Ragnar. Remember, that guy. Who
I'm talking about in this movie. That guy was a real weasel.
I'm saying
but he wasn't.
If it was a villain.
He was playing lots of people back and forth, but he wasn't like a full-on sleeper agent.
Yeah, true. Fair point.
And what's interesting is that, but if you look at the story, Aflan, what's his name? Anelflag?
Ingleberry?
Okay, I'm looking.
Affleck. I want to call him
Affleck, right? Like
it's like Affleck.
I was calling like Captain Flag. What's his name?
I would just call him Affleck.
Anflan. I don't know the bad Dane.
The evil Viking Dane.
Anlaf. Okay.
Affleck.
I think actually when you look at it, Anlaf shows you right away that he has sneaky spies and he has spies everywhere. He actually says that.
Yeah.
And they show you the daughter.
Go create chaos.
Yeah.
For his daughter.
And he shows you the daughter. What you don't realize is that he has another spy that's been looking at you the whole time.
But that moment when when he goes.
Everyone knows what we're talking about
Steve,
because
we'll just call him Steve. When he goes to reach for his sword when Uhtred catches him, and you realize it's because he's afraid he's going to get killed and he wants to be holding his sword. That little L when
such
you're
a beautiful detail.
He's a spot.
Great.
That was
right. He's still a Dane.
He's still a Dane.
So good. That's so good.
That was a great fake out.
That was
great moment.
Yeah, it's interesting.
There were a lot of little hints in this
Do you think
story.
he was testing him, or it just happened?
I think it just
happened. And he just kind of laughs it off and he says, I guess you're still a Dane. And he was really still a Dane.
I don't think he really fully
how.
Yeah. And so I think they did a good amount of misdirection with those characters.
Yeah, you can't. His name is Ingilmundra.
Okay, so
Really
Ingilmundra
can't pronounce that.
I think he was pretty bad. I would say Anlaf. One of my problems with Anlaf, well, I guess Anlaf was pretty smart.
We've been hearing about Ireland the whole time.
Oh, yeah?
The Danes in Ireland the whole time. And the guy that marries Ciara, David Bowie Dane, who then, we end up really liking.
What's his name?
Was it Sid-Trigger?
No.
Sid Trigger.
Sid Trigger.
Oh,
he was one of the best villains.
He's from
that was a hard
Ireland. He ends up coming. So this, the Irish Danes have always been in the backdrop of the show, and I guess this was a great way to kind of bring them in. But we've seen so many great Danish villains that it was just kind of okay.
Yeah, he was
manipulative.
He was smart, but you need
he didn't.
all of them.
He was no.
We didn't get enough time with him to develop. If there was a whole season behind it, he could have been a big bad.
Right, like a Knut, who was kind of a lower level guy who turns into such a serious villain. They grew that over 2 or 3 seasons.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was really.
There's some really
those guys were
great
villains.
No, but you guys are right. The pacing of the movie, it was because it's interesting to see how much what a roller coaster ride it is to have it all condensed in an hour and a half
my
or 2
God.
hour movie versus like, you know.
And they were like, there's
yeah.
no room for romance with.
No, you're
like,
right.
They just
And
like
that's
focused
fine.
on.
That's fine. I mean,
That's fine. I did like that
the-
they hint that like every queen has a thing for Uhtred.
Yeah.
They
No,
made
Finn
some
has
good
some great
jokes.
lines
Yeah.
in this movie, which is great because he's so good
That's
at
his
them.
role.
I mean, and then you do have the villainous romantic relationship with Ingelberg and
Right. You do have.
And Ethelstan.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's true.
it's weird to think of the show without like any sex scenes. And I guess that was our torrid sex scene between the two of them because there's some like hot and steamy romance
was,
in
yeah.
that show.
How do you think you got Allie to watch this show?
I know.
I mean,
exactly.
Lily, it has some of the best star-crossed lovers.
Oh my
of all
gosh!
time.
Remember Ethel Fled
and her
first love, Eric.
and Eric, yeah.
Oh,
Dane.
Yeah, the Dane.
When she like has like Stockholm syndrome and she's
Yeah, but they
kidnapped.
they're going to run away together, and then he
he's
gets killed.
God, I
as
and her daughter's like this blonde.
Uhtred is the one that saves her from capture, and then is gonna let her and Eric run away together because they're in love, and then Eric gets killed.
And then she has to marry that awful Mercia guy.
No, she's already married.
Oh, right, she's cheating
You
on
guys
him.
remember a lot.
She's cheating on him.
It's like
and
one of the
guy
most
is-
iconic.
That's why he
That
never
was genuinely terrible. And then
he never accepts the daughter
No.
because she's blonde and clearly a Dane.
No, but he also. I feel like he died.
We're wandering here, but remember how he gets like talking about her husband? Was he King of Mercia? Is that what
Yeah,
it was?
the
Ethel-
Mercia.
When he gets
Red.
like at the end of his life, he gets like cleaved on the head, and he becomes like a nice guy.
Yes, he has like a traumatic brain
Through a
injury. that he
traumatic brain
comes-
injury. He's like, I don't know why I treated you so badly. You're such a lovely person. It's like, wait, what? Remember that? It was so
direction.
weird.
Okay, let's talk about the final scene.
Does he or doesn't he?
Well, it almost doesn't matter, but Uhtred goes off, opens
he
the door,
does.
he
I think
hears
that-
Valhalla, he
ready.
sees it.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
He's ready.
Reminiscent of other great ending
his
scenes.
He's united the kingdoms.
He united the kingdoms. He dies almost on his own terms, if he does die in that moment, and he dies with the people he loves around him.
I think if Ragnar had been in the room, he'd have been in there.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
They couldn't get the actor. I guess.
They could afford Brita and Hasted.
He's like, yeah, where's
But it would have been cool to see his brother like call him
It
over.
would've
I feel like
been-
they could have
that would've been- that
CG'd
would've
him
been
in.
nice. That
They
would've
could
been-
have CG'd him
Yeah,
in.
but I don't know how expensive that is for
that
this
would've been-
Netflix
that would've
show.
been-
Try. They'll just digitalize.
Digitalize and impose.
That would have been a cool way. But
Yeah.
I-
Then I
so,
would've-
so
that
what'd you
would've got
think?
me- that would've got me right in the-
What'd you think? I liked the ending because I didn't have to watch him die on screen. It's not open ended. I don't think this story could stay open ended.
No.
He's not a superhero. He's not an immortal character.
Agreed.
There aren't more wars for him to fight in the way the story has been
No.
set up. So let's,
This is the end.
yeah.
To be clear, I think, yes,
Yeah.
I think they,
did a
even
great
though they left
job.
it a little open ended, whether he lives or chooses Valhalla. And they kind of say that, right? I mean, Finnan comes in and says it's not recorded whether he lived or died or how he died, whatever the heck he
Which
says.
it's not like he existed.
Yeah.
But they say like
So-
it's possible that many people
Yeah.
were that character over history, and it's an amalgamation.
So they just, so he just kind of leaves it open. But like you said, I don't see how the story goes on from here. There's not going to be.
It's okay to end the story.
It's okay to end
Not
the story.
everything has to be a
and
franchise.
like you,
forever.
it's hard
Yeah, I
to do
agree.
7 seasons, right? 7, right? 7 seasons and a movie and have it be excellent.
7 seasons? I thought it was 5.
No, I mean like,
I thought it was 6 in one. In the movie.
or maybe 6 in a movie.
It's 6 in a movie. Good.
Like that's pretty bold. That's pretty bold. Like that's
Well,
not.
they
bad.
did a great job.
You don't want to
It
become
delivered.
MASH. Sorry.
No,
No.
or Game
Yeah.
or Game of Thrones.
Game of
My
Thrones
God.
or whatever. There's so many. Like it never jumped the shark.
No.
Right.
No. It never did. They never overdid it.
There are a few shows, like you made a great point. There are a few shows where I can think of that many characters I like. On Game of Thrones, I watched the whole thing. I can't really tell you if there's one that I was like, oh, I wish that person was back.
They become just.
They all just
become
like
disposable.
Right. And they all they're like they have to ruin every character to end the show. You have to end up hating everyone by the end. And they just didn't need to do that. I think they really love their fans.
No,
the
this
creators.
one was that. It's all that, and the fact that it had one foot in history, I think, gave it a little bit of authenticity that maybe Game of Thrones
the
was
names
just like.
was so cool. Always
Yeah, but
names.
I love how they're like, the other funny joke was like Ethel. They're like, oh, these Saxon names.
Yeah, they're all
yes, they really are hard. It's like
That was a nod to
when I watched it the other night, and spoiler, I did watch it before tonight, but it's like I had my, I had the cast open with like, so I'm like, where is like, it's like it's hard.
Thank
and
God
I
you
still
did
don't
because
retain them
you
all.
explained who everyone is to me.
Oh my God,
Okay.
though.
All right. Alexander Draymond. Amazing. This is like iconic
He
performance
should
for
not
him.
be allowed to play any other roles.
Okay, so I was going to say,
Or
what
only play roles with that accent.
would you want to see him do next?
I don't want to see him do anything.
A rom-com?
I mean,
Lily wants to see him.
it has
star
to do.
I'm going to make a comparison here.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm going to make a comparison to, and I'm what's his name?
Sean Connery.
No.
Roger Moore.
No, Justified. The
Raylan Givens.
Raylan Givens.
Timothy
Oliphant. Since then, he's tried a comedy. He's tried a couple other things.
That's a good point.
But it's hard for him to move. That's such an iconic.
He's doing
role.
a Justified movie, by the
yes,
way.
which is great. I'm really excited about that. But my point is, like, it is when you do kind of a career-defining role like that, it's going to be hard for him to like move to do something. What does he do next?
So
like,
Justifies a show that they're doing a movie.
Yeah.
They could do a movie a year like Columbo and never kill him for 100 years.
yes,
Yeah, I'd watch that.
This one, they couldn't keep doing it because the stakes are so important,
Yeah.
right? Like the
yeah.
Okay, so I would love to see. So here's the analogy I'm going to make. So the guy who plays Homelander on The Boys
I don't know how I could watch him in anything.
Anthony Starr
me.
was in Banshee.
Yep.
And he was incredible in Banshee,
Yeah.
which is
Very
a
distinct
great,
character.
gritty show. Very distinct character.
Absolutely.
And he completely reinvented.
Yes.
And if anything, Banshee, not a lot of people watched, but this other show is iconic, right? His Homelander character is iconic. Yeah. So I would love to see Alexander Draymond just play something totally different, but something high quality, as opposed to being like a villain in a bad
Action
Netflix movie, in a bad
like a
Netflix action movie, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd like to see him.
That's a great comparison, a great analogy.
So that's what I wish for him.
Although I will say that his character in Banshee and his character Homelander, they're similar in the ways that they're both on the edge of insanity. Like they're on the edge of like losing. His character in Banshee is always a little unhinged.
That's true. Extremely violent.
That show was like, boy, that was, it's hard to be too violent for my taste. And that was like, that skirted the edge a couple times. But you're right though. But in terms of like whatever, he like completely became and almost like they made the leap to the next level with Homelander. Partly it's a great series, but it's also like,
but it's also
he was
smart
able to reinvent himself. No,
also,
absolutely.
it's like smart. There are guys like I think like the guy from Sam Heughan, who is I know he's iconic in Outlander. Mm-hmm. He was good in Bloodshot. He was enjoyable, but like
he's still Jamie. Like he's still actively.
I know what I want to see Alexander Draymond in next. I want to see him be. I want there to be like some big budget female driven comedy, and he plays like the sexy comedic relief, like something that takes place on a beach, and he's just in a bathing suit the whole time, and he's just being really
you want
funny.
him to be like the yoga instructor in Couples Retreat?
Exactly. That's what I want. And he'll be like a small side part, and you'll be like, that's so cute that he's doing this like little part, but then like, every time
you know what? He just had a baby, and
he had the baby.
Well,
did he
could also move into like a cop drama or something like that. I could see him easily.
There's nothing. I don't see that he's going to be in anything
he should
time soon.
Be only in things that film at the beach, where he's in a bathing suit.
No, he wears so much clothes on.
So much clothing on it.
He was in a movie 2020 that's like a thriller type thing where he met his wife.
Really?
So what do you want to see?
Horizon Line. But I remember it came out in 2020, and I was like, "What is this garbage? I can't watch him in anything else. Yeah. How could he make something else?" I'm glad he met his wife, but honestly, I can't imagine him as not being Uhtred.
It seems very exhausting. Filming, to be Uhtred to film Last Kingdom.
So he hasn't done very much else but that in a long time. So we'll see what he does.
Okay, so as we wrap up, Last Kingdom. For those of you who like Game of Thrones or like that kind of thing, this is the better, good show.
Much better show. Yeah.
This is the better show. Go watch that show. You want history, you want swords, you want honor, duty, betrayal.
Buns.
Yeah.
It's a great show. It's just sweeping, epic, all those things, but yet intimate. You get to love these characters. It's a great show.
All right, now since this is an episode of our show, we always want our shout outs and recs. Mark, what else have you been watching?
Let me do last.
Okay, all right. Well, last night the three of us went to go see Renfield, which is Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult, where Nicholas Hoult plays Renfield, the servant of Dracula.
Oh my God!
Only
I've seen the clips
they've
for this.
survived they've survived hundreds of years and are in present day, and it's like a hilarious horror action comedy with Awkwafina, and Ben Schwartz is
and neither one of those are in
amazing.
this trailer, so it's a real pleasant surprise.
I had no idea what this was going into it. I was like,
But
Nicolas Cage
it's under
vampire
the
movie. I'm in.
guise of the employee searching out a support group because his boss is toxic and they're codependent.
It's like this very
And
funny
so
action movie that is a meditation on codependency
and narcissism and kind
Nicolas
of
Cage
standing up for your
really good choices.
really
in
good
his
choices.
roles.
Yeah.
He's
And
he's going full Nicolas Cage.
And he's,
Yeah.
and he loves vampires.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with them. And he is so funny playing Dracula because you can
It's
see how much
really
fun he's
good.
having.
And you know what? It's 93 minutes.
No. Yeah.
Bravo.
What's the great movie that what was the movie
The
he made
Unbearable
with,
Weight
like,
of
Massive Talent.
Massive Talent.
like
So good, right?
one of the best movies.
That's how we got Mark here, actually.
Yeah.
We paid him 10 grand. He now has to spend the
But
weekend
just
with
like
us.
a buddy movie for the ages, like that movie is hilarious, and it's again part of it. Its success is just Nicolas Cage doing Nicolas Cage, and just like to the umpteenth degree. Yeah, that's
Embracing
great.
his weird.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
saw that. That was delightful. I am watching Star Trek Picard because
I know because it's all you talk about.
You're alone in that.
So aware.
I've been recovering from shoulder surgery. I got a lot of time in the middle of the night when I can't sleep, and what's his name? Patrick Stewart's so relaxing to listen to. But I gotta say, I'm not a Star Trek guy, so I don't know specifically how good it's supposed to be. But I would say it's a better constructed show, true to the characters, than a lot of the Star Wars stuff has been. Like, I don't like it more than Star Wars, but that is a really well-made show with great side characters and great production values and no nonsense. It ties back to all the old stuff, yet somehow is modern. Picard is pretty awesome. And then Mike Roberts, the great Mike Roberts, one of our favorite guests, recommended Star Trek Strange New Worlds because I was in the Star Trek phase, which is about Captain Pike before
You've been talking
Kirk?
about Star Trek for too long. I stopped listening.
Okay. Anyways, that one's pretty cool, but I haven't fully connected to it yet.
My only thing is I watched, and I'm coming up empty on like any TV shows, but I finally watched.
You're just watching
that.
a lot of TF1.
No, I watched that but I watched finally, and I'm going to screw it up. But Everything All at Once,
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Once.
a cool
And I
movie.
started it earlier, like late at night with Grace, my daughter. Sorry, and it just I couldn't get past the first half hour because it's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But I watched it actually on the plane over. It's a lovely movie.
Yeah, you got to watch it twice.
Absolutely. It's brilliant. It's lovely in that I was, talking to my wife. It's like, it's lovely because this woman who like thinks she has a crappy life is suddenly shown like multiple universes, multiple versions of herself. And yet she goes back and realizes like this drubby guy that
Taxes and laundry.
that is actually like a lovely man. And like she finds her piece, which is really like, but it's a little bit long, but it's a good movie.
I had to watch the whole second half.
About her connecting with her daughter,
daughter
too.
who frankly should have won the Oscar, but
Yeah.
anyway, but love Jamie Lee Curtis, but like that was much better. Excuse me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I started Tiny Beautiful Things, which is on
That sounds
Hulu.
like Big Little Lies.
There's too many shows with those like 3 words. Pretty Little
I know.
Lies, Tiny Beautiful Things, Big Little Lies. It's just too many shows with all these very similar titles. But I was excited to see Catherine Hahn, and I like the Cheryl Strayed kind of stories in her writing. So I was interested. And Rachel Lee Goldenberg, who directed Minx and Unpregnant, she directed it. And it's everything it promises. Heartbreaking, depressing, funny, great acting. It's, you have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
But it's so far I enjoy it. It's a book. So it's based on her book, her second book, I believe. But it's great. I like it.
I actually just to add,
Yeah.
and I'm going to screw it up, but it's called it's a Netflix series. It's called like The Night agent or the night.
Oh, the night.
The night manager.
The night.
No.
That's a different.
The guy on the night desk in the White House.
Yeah, the CIA.
Is that now?
The CIA.
Can I? You were once on the watch at the State Department. Is that what it was
exactly
like?
the same. Very much like that.
Your
But
story,
actually,
basically.
even though the lead character, the dude, what is it called? The night. It's like the night agent or something.
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
not
yeah. I know
getting
what
it
you're
right.
talking about.
But
Yeah.
but actually a really good series.
You're not the
very
you're not the
watchable.
first person to tell me that because I looked at it and I was like, 24 knockoff.
To me, better than the Tom Clancy.
right,
the thing, the to me, it's just a better show. It's like
And I don't know why.
The Night Agent.
The Night
The
Agent.
Night Agent. Yeah, Mom was watching that. She said it's great.
You know which one you'll love,
good.
Mark? You'll love is Reacher. That's tailor-made for you.
I
Reacher is tailor-made for
download
you.
that for
I
the
watched it
plane
twice.
home.
Okay.
I love that.
That's your.
Yeah, I
watched-
loved
Sweet
it.
spot.
That's your
sweet
your
spot.
algorithm, Mark.
Lone man walks into town. Literally walks into town like from the highway.
Right.
A crime happens. The whole
trying to solve it.
he
He's
gets
got
to
a
the bottom of
shady
it.
past.
Shady pat. It's
Love it.
and it's
literally
he's
a little bit like Banshee. Remember that?
Yeah,
Like,
it is
had
very
a vibe
similar.
to it.
It's softer.
Yeah.
The guy is the beefiest, strongest guy I've ever seen,
Yeah.
and hilarious. He
Oh,
actually
really?
has a
Good.
great dry delivery. Like you look at a
good.
guy like that, and you're like, he can't act. He's very funny.
I also have to recommend, I don't know where you can see it, but we will find out. And everybody who's listening should also get you have to see this movie. I think you'll really greatly appreciate a movie that Shai and I got to see for the podcast called The Lost Weekend, a love story by...
It's about.
It's about. Yeah, I was gonna say like the director, also a guy from Philly, Richard Kaufman.
New movie.
Well, he produced it. It's a new movie, and it's a documentary about May Pang, John Lennon's partner and romantic partner, and like
Oh wow.
creative partner too, and just someone that he shared his life with for about 18 months when he separated from Yoko Ono, but she was involved and in part of some of his best music.
Oh,
that he
wow.
made
And his like
solo.
later, all these great, crazy moments. It's
He had
like this.
3 number 1 songs while he was with her, and she helped reunite him with Julian Lennon, his son.
wow.
And it was just a really
cool
interesting
movie. Yeah,
slice of rock and roll history.
Yeah. Oh, I would.
And she's
dig
a
that.
fantastically incredible character to witness and
Oh,
hear
that's
her
cool.
talk.
Yeah.
and
Really
we and
cool
just
movie.
in case people haven't heard it, we interviewed her on the show.
We did.
how
interview her on the
cool.
show. She's so genuinely awesome.
Oh my gosh, that is neat.
All right, Becky, we've given you a lot of time for a recommendation.
I honestly, I finished the new season of Party Down. I've been catching up
funny.
on Ted Lasso. I've been trying to watch Succession. I got through that 4th episode.
You're the only
You
one.
know? I'm trying. It's just what happens is that there's they are so much that when I'm done an episode, I'm like, I need a break for 3 to 6 months before we hang out again because you're very toxic people. I'm not like, ooh, I want to spend more time with you.
Lily and I think, have taken it different. We take the sides of the kids a lot in
Yeah.
that show.
I'm like, show me more. Taking notes.
So I haven't been on a big tear lately. So that's what I got.
pretty good, man.
All right, where can people follow you?
On
I did it
Instagram.
last
You know what?
I
It's
did.
actually in the bumper now at the end of the show. So I want to thank our great guest coming transcontinentally.
Just for this.
Flew over the English Channel probably to get here.
Sure.
Looked out his window at Wessex as he passed by.
I didn't see the flames coming
For-
across from
Coming
Northumbria.
and watching the
What
show.
do they call it? Ireland.
and sticking around to do this instant reaction.
This
Mark
is fun.
Toner.
This is really cool.
Thank
He
you.
came from Frankia, didn't he? Frankia.
No, this is actually, I hadn't really thought of it until you said it, is that, we did a couple of these, virtually.
Virtually.
So it's really fun to be
Different
here.
corners of the
at
world.
the actual kitchen table.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for being here, man.
Thank
Bye.
you guys, man.
Thank you for listening to Friday Night Movie, the sibling rivalry and pop culture podcast. Join the Friday Night Movie family by following @FryNightMovie on all of the socials and visiting our website, FryNightMovie.com. Our theme song is by What Does It Eat? And make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.